research is undervalued. I think sales is valued higher than research, and I don't agree with that. Recently, if you're older male, that's not a good place to be in large organisations. In my research perspective, I sort of had 3 golden rules. Make money for your customers. 2 was try and make their lives easier. And then sometimes going against the crowd, you need some advice. Professionals, it's like you don't do your own surgery or dentistry.
And tips for driving long-term wealth?
One is you have to
Private markets investments are investors can find some real value. I find the best way to learn is learn from someone who's done it before and given it a go. Hi, I'm Travis Miller, host of Grow Your Wealth podcast. Thanks for joining me here today. On these podcast sessions, we're going to talk through how certain investors have navigated the bumpy road of investing, whether it be through business or investments in general. Thanks for listening today. Welcome back to the Grow Your Wealth podcast, where we bring you insightful conversation with industry leaders to help you navigate the world of finance and investments. I'm your host, Travis Miller, and today we have a very special guest, Ivan Colhoun. Joining us, Ivan is a highly experienced chief economist and keynote speaker on Australian economy and financial markets. Today we'll delve into Ivan's fascinating career, from his early days at the RBA to roles such as chief economist for Qantas and chief economist Australia for ANZ and Deutsche Bank, to his recent role as chief economist corporate institutional banking for National Australia Bank. We'll also explore some of the key lessons he learned along the way and discuss the current challenges facing the Australian economy. Inflation, the big driving forces, interest rates, and lessons learnt about growing wealth. So without further ado, let's dive into a conversation with Ivan. How's things?
Good, thanks, Travis.
Thanks for coming along. How about we just start with sort of a little bit of background on yourself and what you're up to at the moment?
Okay, how far back do you want the background?
It's a lot of this is quite interesting where it all started, right? Like, where'd you go to school? Where'd you grow up?
So, I'm an immigrant.
Yep.
So my parents immigrated from Ireland when I was 7.
There
were a lot of troubles there in those times.
Yep.
So, and their economy hasn't done very well, as we probably read through the global financial crisis.
Sure.
Remember, they had the massive
the
property boom and then bust. So that was a great move for my parents. 2 brothers moved to Tassie.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I'm a very proud Tasmanian still.
You went to the AFL?
Yep.
That's good to hear.
But I'm Western Bulldogs supporter, I think
that
the Devils will be my second side.
Yeah, true.
And so I went to school there, primary school, same primary school as Queen Mary of Denmark. So she's a bit younger than me. And then a great boys' school. And then I did uni in Tassie, Bachelor of Economics with honours. And then, like so many Tasmanians, we moved to the mainland for jobs because there aren't a lot of jobs down there. Yeah. And I went to the Reserve Bank, which I describe as the finishing school for economists.
It's true, isn't it?
Certainly a lot of people that work in markets came from the Reserve Bank.
Gotcha. And how did you get the Reserve Bank? You obviously did well at uni and graduate type job, was it?
I did a honours cadetship, but with the Treasury. And I didn't really want to move to Canberra. I sort of, Hobart's got a big river and I thought Sydney was good. And I guess partially I did interview for a RBA cadetship and completely bombed that interview. It was a challenge for me to go back and get offered a role there. And second time around I did get offered a job.
And what was that role?
I was just an economist in their research department. So I started there when my first job was adding up M3 statistics and broad money and credit, and they didn't actually even have laptops in those days. So I can type on a calculator like a typist can do that because I was doing the credit aggregates by hand.
Where was the data coming from?
Same banks report to one of the areas in the RBA and they send it up to research and
just coming in
I
the
had
mail.
to add it up and check it and release a statistical report.
Yeah, gotcha.
I think it was very helpful for attention to detail and numeracy, which I think are really important in financial markets.
Yeah, I mean, economics is economists, a lot of maths, right? Ultimately, it's a mathematical job. You're forecasting, doing analytics, various strategies on that front, isn't it?
I think there's a mixture. I would say I'm more probably a practical economist. So I like looking at data, cross-checking it with what I hear from companies.
Yep.
I've got some favourite indicators that I definitely rely on that are real indicators, job ads being one of them. And so I like thinking about understanding what's happening, why it's happening, which has been very important.
What are your favourite indicators? You obviously mentioned job ads.
Job ads, yeah. I've always found, like, if there's less jobs around, then unemployment goes up, interest rates go down. It's a very, very reliable indicator, and vice versa. If there's more jobs, they tend to go up. The other one is the NAB Business Survey, which is very similar messages to job ads, but if they're both telling me the same thing, I'm very, very confident in how I think the Australian economy is performing.
I used to like the non-farm payrolls out of the US. Used to be one of my favourites.
Yeah, I still look at that and analyse that every month, and about another 10 US labour market indicators.
So what happened after RBA? You went into the banking world?
Yeah,
you went via Qantas as well, right?
Yeah, that was quite a while afterwards. So I actually went to London for a while because I decided the RBA, there was a few bureaucratical issues that I rebelled against, and so I just decided I'm going to London. I went there for 3 months, and then a friend rang me up and hired me to what was before Deutsche Bank. It was Bain & Company, the Australian stockbroker. And I was very lucky to work under a legendary economist, Don Stammer, there.
Oh, really?
So he was my first big mentor in markets.
He's very influential. I actually have never met him, but I work with his son, Ben Stammer.
Oh, yes.
He's obviously a very influential bloke because Don's name pops up quite often.
Yeah, he was great, and he's so into customer service and presenting really well. And I don't know, I think I went to his last ever business lunch recently, and he said it was his 10,000th business lunch. I don't know if that figure was true or not. It probably is pretty close to it. But you never knew if you were a customer when he came in to present to you on the economy, whether you were the 50th presentation he'd given that week or the first. He always had that enthusiasm. So that was really, really important, I think.
Hey, if you're enjoying this, please subscribe on whatever platform you're using. It helps us build a community. We want to educate investors, and this is what it's all about. Well, that's actually on my next topic, actually. A few people have influenced you through your career. So Don Stammer. Yeah. And then any others?
Well, look, I've been very lucky to have a lot of great people to work with. Yeah. At Deutsche it was Don and Steve Kennedy, who's a big bond trader, and I still speak to Steve.
Steve from Deutsche Bank?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Steve,
Yeah, and he's a super brain. Like, he's interested in everything, including medicine. And,
wow.
So we still discuss markets a lot.
That's great.
And then, so that was quite a while. Also, Mark Jolly, I don't know if he was around, but he was from Tassie, another great Tassie economist. So they were really, Deutsche in those days was a really interesting place to work. Yeah. And then I left there. I went to Qantas because I'm into planes and flying. And I really always wanted to be a pilot, but I knew I never wanted to live in work in the Air Force.
Was that just to get away from Tassie or get on the plane?
No, I love planes. I love being in them, and I've got a license, but I didn't want to join the Air Force. I thought I'd be doing push-ups forever. Gotcha. And then that was a really difficult environment. It was very political. Yep. I'm not, I think one of your questions is what aren't you good at, or what's tripped you up? And I'm not very good at office politics or being political, and that was a highly political environment. So I ended up there consulting to Virgin in the global financial crisis, some of the biggest calls, I think, I thought there was going to be really big recession when I was at Qantas because I was following the US housing data. That
Makes
was
sense.
right. My big break was predicting inflation would collapse in Australia in the early 90s. I was, the first economist to predict that.
Gotcha.
Don Stammer worked out that was really big, and we had a really big call on
That's good.
much lower inflation.
Yeah. Is it a bit of a club? Like in the banking world, do you hang around with economists from other banks? Is there a little economist club?
Yeah,
or?
look, there's people that from Treasury and the RBA that are, you have a degree of collegiality there.
Yep.
And then there's competitors. So you tend not to be
Gotcha.
as, unless they were already your friends before they got
so it's
there.
a competition aspect.
I think
You're sort
there
of trying
is
to
a
form
competition,
your
but
own
there's
views.
also people you respect a lot. I think Bill Evans was always a very, very good economist. Saul Eslake, still a very, very good economist.
Yeah.
And they were, at different times Bill was a competitor, but I always respected him. Others, I didn't have as much respect for. So
Two well-known names. Yeah. Very good. How about a couple of pivotal moments it can be in your life, your career, a couple of times in the dial?
certainly the inflation
so that
call
was a
at
big
the
call.
early 90s that the market was expecting the quarter 1990 inflation print to be 0.8 or 1
Gotcha.
or something, and I said, no, it's going to be 0.2 or 0.1,
Gotcha.
and I think it was that.
And how did you come up with?
low.
How did you call that? Is that just your own analytics?
I got the last two horribly wrong,
Gotcha.
and I just don't like being wrong.
Yeah.
So I spent a weekend in at work working out why I was getting it wrong and going right down into the detail.
Gotcha.
And then I worked out what was happening. Interest rates were actually measured in the CPI, and they'd been going up a lot in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I worked out if they stopped going up and fell a bit, inflation would collapse from 9 to 3.
Gotcha.
And it was, as long as interest rates came down, I think it was 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
Guaranteed, it was mathematic. Nothing needed to happen.
Yeah.
I was absolutely certain about it. So
Gotcha.
it's sort of a bit of the maths interest.
Yeah.
But the driver was I didn't like being wrong. So
Think about being an economist. You got to make decisions all the time. You have to make a call.
yeah.
People are looking to you to sort of make the call. Have you always been good at making decisions, or do you think you learned that on the way through?
Probably I'm not. I would say I'm not really very good at making
Gotcha.
decisions. But sometimes, like 3 or 4 times, there's been big calls that I think the data has really told me,
Gotcha.
and no one else has been thinking that, or very few people.
Gotcha.
But the data, I trust the data. A lot of people, form views and then torture the data or
Understand.
interpret everything to form their view, and I think that's not good as an economist. You
Gotcha.
need to go the other way around.
Gotcha. Yeah, I understand. So you're not necessarily making a call. You're just verbalising the facts that you found.
Sometimes a lot of it. You have to interpret them and cross-check, and interest rates, you have to make calls, but the data will generally guide you on that as well.
Makes total sense. And as far as business, you mentioned one of your jobs, you sort of didn't enjoy the politics, you weren't good at it. In the workplace, what do you enjoy? Sort of what drives you in business?
Well, I also I still like being right and getting the top ranked economics team and calling the Reserve Bank right. And I really like talking to customers and customer service. So so that's important. So it's the challenge of being right about the market and also servicing customers and doing a good job for the institution I represent.
Yeah. Well, I know back in my banking days, the economist was critical to the sales process. He'd often go out to a client and sort of the economist would take the lead and sort of provide their views, and then he'd get sort of macro down to micro. So it's a critical part of the the banking and finance world, right? A critical cog in the sales process.
Yeah, I always thought of it as research sales.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a very good door opener.
Yeah.
And if you can attract a customer to your bank, that's an annuity stream. And salespeople have to do a trade all the time. But I think research is undervalued. I think certainly my recent experience, sales is valued higher than research, and I don't agree with that as much.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode. If you want to learn more about alternative assets, there's a book here you can read, How You Grow Your Wealth with Alternative Assets. Now back to the episode. Yeah, well, you can't underestimate the chat element, right? Like having a view on the economy kicks off a discussion because your client will have a different view. And part of that, developing a rapport, building a relationship with the client is critical because ultimately that's what drives business. And I think the research economist aspect helps the sales process by helping you develop the rapport. That is sort of how I'd sort of connect both of them in my experience.
I think so. And especially if customers trust you as well,
For sure.
if you've been, speaking to them for, some of them, it's more than 30 years I've been talking about the economy on, and I still get calls from some people who, one is looking after my mental health while I'm between roles, but they're also interested in what are you thinking about the economy? I want to run this past you.
Yeah.
So,
that's good. Become the trusted advisor.
Yeah.
Bit of a left field one for you. So if you think about the sort of, you've stepped out of the banking world and at the moment, if you look at some of the people you've worked with across your journey or clients you've gone and met, what do you think from an entrepreneur? Is any tips you would give them if they're looking to start their own business, stepping out of the finance world, the big world of the banks, out to start something? Any views on that?
Yeah. I think there's some of the comments people always say is do something you love.
Yep,
so that's always something that makes it easier, seem a bit less like work.
Yep.
Probably want to start with some money behind you because small business is tough.
Yep.
You will need banks, so it's good relationship with the bank, but there's credit there. There's, I guess, some other ones, just what are mistakes people make. I think they fudge business cases, they extrapolate current trends and don't allow for the cycle. And sometimes there's fads that people jump on at the wrong time.
It's like a point you mentioned earlier about some economists will form a view and then trying to fudge the data to fit their view. It's a bit like that in starting a business, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to fudge the data on your own business.
Yeah. But find a need and really look after your customers. I think that's definitely, customer service is really, really important.
Gotcha. You think through your career, what things have worked well for you?
Well, I think in my research perspective, I sort of had three golden rules.
Yep.
I had one was make money for your customers.
Yep. Nice one.
Two was try and make their lives easier, which is a sort of service one. But I remember Deutsche started that overnight report.
Yeah, I got you.
And so instead of having to get up and look at what happened overnight and troll through the screen, someone at Deutsche had done that for you.
Yeah, it's great.
And Michael Dirks was the original person who did that, and then Mark Jolly took it over and took it to another
Pretty
level.
handy. Where's the currency? Where's bills?
Yeah.
All those things.
And why did these things happen?
True.
And then I think sometimes going against the crowd, not always, but I remember when the US economy, before the global financial crisis, there was a theory that, the world had decoupled and China was doing so well that it wouldn't matter if the US had a recession.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was rubbish. I thought the US is 30% of the world, or it was then. If it has a big recession and all the indicators were saying there was something bad going on with housing there, I thought that's going to affect the rest of the world.
You don't have to be that good at maths. If you got 30% of the world, if that 30% shrinks, that's an impact.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
So,
what about bumps in the road? Things that went wrong?
Well, look, I've certainly been made redundant more times than I would like to have been. I think each time I didn't. The office politics that isn't. I've mentioned that before, but that's not something I'm as good at, and I probably sometimes I think I was too customer focused and I didn't have enough balance on sucking up a bit, and that's not my personality. So I sort of relied a bit on people to recognise the job that I was doing, and I think customers do.
Well, if they're still ringing you post for some advice, you obviously did a good job.
Yeah, but not always the people that mattered.
It's the nature of banking these days, the redundancies. There's always a restructure happening.
Yeah.
They're always restructuring or changing something,
and research seems to be an easy target. And
Gotcha.
Recently, if you're older male, that's not a good place to be in large organisations. Yeah. So that might come back to your other question. Maybe that's where people need to think about. Where do their careers go? Should they be better out on their own?
Yeah, well, I can say from into the funds management finance outside the banking now, there's a lot of amazing, talented people working outside of the banks. Whereas I think when I was younger, all I wanted to do was work inside the bank because I saw that as the place where innovation was happening and exciting stuff was happening. But geez, there's a lot happening outside of the banks. And I think that's just the way the sort of finance world has moved. Yeah. And I think the regulator probably drove that to a degree by simplified banking post GFC, and then some of the complexities moved outside of the banks would be some of my observations.
Yeah, and post GFC and the Royal Commission, where look, I wanted to buy a house recently, and I've got a reasonable enough assets that I could have funded it.
Gotcha.
But I'm unemployed. I don't have an income statement, so they wouldn't lend the money to me. And this was for the next 18 months until we downsized. And I just thought, that's not smart banking.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of people listening sorry, keep going.
I was going to say, they'd give me a bridging loan at a much higher rate. I go, that's more irresponsible. Yeah. I'm more likely to get into trouble at a higher rate than... True.
Hey, if you're enjoying this, please leave a review. It's really important to us. We're trying to build momentum around education, and better reviews will get more people coming and listening. A lot of business owners listen to this podcast. I know exactly what you're saying. As a business owner myself, self-employed and business owners, banks are not that keen to chat to you. They love a nice regular salary, and I understand credit risk aspects, but I think that's why non-bank lenders are turning up as well. There's a lot of non-bank lenders focus on that, sort of the small business owners, self-employed. It's a great part of the market because it now offers choice for people that maybe can't get the bank finance. What about tips for if you're looking back at yourself, 20 years ago? What tips would you give yourself?
I'd spend a bit more time on the internal office politics.
Yeah,
I'd try and And I've sort of thought maybe you could teach that. Someone could teach you. That would be good. I always worked hard for bosses I respected, and so I think it's always a good thing to make your boss look good.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd say if you don't respect your boss, I'd get out of there quicker than I did.
Yeah, that's good. And what's success for you in the workplace, even at home in your personal life? Getting the calls right, I guess, is one was important.
Getting calls right is important. Getting rated well in surveys is one of the measures for, because there's not like a trader's got a P&L and a salesperson's got sales credit. Yeah. And so it's harder to measure an economist's contribution. At home, look, I've got two lovely daughters. They're very challenging, so getting them educated is certainly an aim I've given myself, and that's really important to me, and it's a gift my parents gave me. So I think that's really important, and it's probably getting more important these days. But having trying to be healthy and
you.
have a happy life and not do too much harm to anyone.
Yeah, I got you. Did you ever get back to Tassie?
Often.
Really? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I bought a little, we call it a farm. That's probably an overstatement. But, going there this weekend. We're growing some Pinot Noir grapes on it. That's
so
the
proper
latest.
farming.
Well, it's tiny.
That's pretty good though.
But, we've got a little adventure there with 6 other friends.
Perfect.
That's keeps us.
That's the key, right? Getting a bit of balance outside of the dealing with teenage girls.
Yeah.
Becoming a grape grower and making wine. That sort of sounds like a good life.
Yeah, I don't make it. I've got someone who knows something about making wine.
How many bottles do you think you'll get out of it?
This year we leased some land as well. We harvested 7 tons of grapes, and that's probably 5,000 litres, I think we've got. So that's probably 7,000 bottles or something like that, 6,000. So more than personal consumption.
Divided by the 6 people.
Yeah.
That's a nice number.
It's for sale on our website.
Good on you.
Some establishments around the Lane Cove area have it.
That's great.
So, it's a bit of fun.
No, that's all right. And a winemaking economist. There wouldn't be too many of those around, would there?
Oh, I don't know. I can't think. Well, there's some good one. There is one down in the south of Tassie, Hughes and Hughes, and I think one of the fun is there's some Macquarie Bank and Economics connection there as well.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
maybe there's a few.
Fair enough. Sounds good. How about some quick fire questions?
Yeah.
What was your first job? As young as you want to go.
Well, I was thinking my first real one was the Reserve Bank, but
Really?
I did at primary school. I rented war comics to other kids for 1 and 2 cents. So maybe that was my first.
That's definitely your first job.
So
Very good. And then straight to the RBA.
Yeah.
Were you renting any comics at the RBA?
No.
Just working. Piece of advice for younger self. We touched on this earlier. Anything else?
Yeah, I thought when I read those questions, I always thought playing cricket, I never was aggressive enough in my batting. I was always too worried about getting out.
Yeah.
And my only good scores were when I was being really aggressive. So I'd probably back myself a bit more and try and, if I don't respect my boss, leave earlier. And
maybe that's the way to play the Pollux next time as well.
Yeah.
A bit like your cricket, more aggressive.
Yeah.
What motivates you most as a person?
I do like winning, definitely. And, I like being appreciated, I think.
Gotcha.
So that helps with the customer service.
Yep. And tips for driving long-term wealth?
Look, I was thinking about that. One is you have to devote some time to it.
Yep.
It just doesn't happen.
Yep.
2 is I think you need some advice.
Yeah.
And professionals. It's like you don't do your own surgery or dentistry.
Agree.
So you need to understand tax.
Yeah.
You need to understand superannuation.
Agree.
I would be overweighting, growth assets.
Yep.
So shares particularly.
Yep.
But also property exposures. Avoiding fads.
Yep.
Buy good shares when panics happen.
Bit of contrarian.
Yeah, but they need to be good shares.
Yeah, for sure.
So this would be probably my main ones.
Pretty good. I like it. And biggest mistake people make? It can be the opposite of that, by the way. But what do you see as the biggest mistake people make in growing wealth?
They're probably panicking, selling out when there's panics.
Yep.
And instead of buying good assets when they're cheaper.
Yeah.
And also jumping on fads. Getting into the .com boom at the top.
It's interesting you mentioned tax before. It's not a lot of people bring that up, but it is critical in Australia to think about tax because you've got your discount CGT, a number of tax elements. If you just think about it, you can potentially get a better payoff for your investment given the sort of the tax regime.
Yeah,
it's definitely worth thinking through.
Absolutely.
When you're not working, spend your time. So you're obviously making wine, looking after the kids. Anything else? You're into the cricket?
Golf.
Golf?
Yeah, I'd like to be a better golfer. I am a little bit better than before I was made redundant. So
Gotcha.
there is a correlation there.
Yeah.
I like watching AFL.
Yeah.
I'm a Bulldogs supporter.
Yeah.
I like soccer. I play a bit between injuries, cameos, old age cameos. I'm an Arsenal supporter. What else? I read a bit.
Sound like keep pretty busy.
Yeah, so...
Still playing soccer. That's a good effort.
Yeah. Look, I only played 2 games this year, so I didn't get injured, though. I was very happy with that.
That's a massive win.
So, yeah.
Very good. Thanks a lot for coming in. If you're interested in connecting with Ivan, you can connect with him on LinkedIn, but we'll also include the link in the show notes. Thanks a lot for coming in. Appreciate it, Ivan.
Thanks, Travis.
Hey, if you're enjoying this, please leave a review. It's really important to us. We're trying to build momentum around education, and better reviews will get more people coming and listening.